Welcome to Golf Tips. My name's Trevor Moore, teaching professional with the Advantage Golf Academy down at Cottonwood Coulee Golf Course, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I see on the lesson tee and on the golf course on a daily basis. And one of the things I want to caution people get out of the gates, they jump onto the first tee, they do 2 stretches, and out comes the driver and away they go. Whether you play a lot of golf or you play a little of golf, you've got to remember flexibility, you've got to remember stretching, you've got to keep yourself loose and limber. So I want to run through a few ideas today with you and some thoughts just to maybe stimulate that mind of yours, that golfing mind, so that we don't get ourselves in a situation where we're risking injury or producing substandard performance. But flexibility and stretching are critical. If you are a player who plays all the time, you're going to find that flexibility is going to improve the power in the golf swing as well. So for a player that plays often, it's very important that you get out and stretch pre-round, stretch periodically during the round, stretch post-round, but do stretching at home as well. Do stretching in the off-season, do stretching in the pre-season. Just constantly remember to increase your flexibility. We use a golden rule. You gain it, you've got to maintain it. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. And that's what happens with flexibility. For a player that doesn't play often, we're just risking injury. Golf is a rotation sport, and it's not a very natural movement if we don't loosen ourselves up. When you go to the driving range, I do not want to see you jump right into a basket of balls without some stretches. And let's make it plural, stretches, not just one, not a quick twist and we're warm. When you jump out, we're not hitting a lot of drivers, we're not hitting a lot of golf balls, we take time and ease into it. Okay, let's look at some stretches. And I want to get into these just as some examples. There's many that you could use. There's no perfect stretch. It's relative to the tight parts in your body as well, so fine-tune the stretching to you. But let's look at a few stretches you can use pre-round and during the round of golf, either as an advanced player or somebody that has not played in a long time. So a couple things to think about when we are stretching. We don't want quick, aggressive, jerky movements. They've got to be smooth. Number 2, you've got to hold the stretch a little bit. You should feel it. You should feel yourself pulling into that stretch a little bit. If you're not feeling it, you're not stretching. When we get into it, number 3, let's look at sports specific. I love to see people in a golf specific movement when they're stretching. Considering we're playing golf, it only makes sense that we're not doing the same warm-up exercises as a sprinter, per se. So let's look at some stretches. And number 1, golf is a rotation. So lots of it needs to be rotation based, and we can put the club up behind our neck. We can put the club up behind our back, in our elbows, put our hands on our ribs. We can also cross our arms up on our chest and put the club up here. It really doesn't matter which sort of format you use, but the big key is this. We don't stretch standing tall because that's not the posture we're going to be in for a golf swing. In a golf swing, I'm bent over at the hips with a little angle in my hips to get into the shot. So we want to be in a golf-specific posture when we stretch. That's very important, is always try to think of ways to get into a very golf-specific posture. Things to do, simply rotation. So getting into here, basic scenario, take the shoulders and turn them 90 degrees and just hold. And hold that for a few seconds. Feel that stretch a little bit. You're going to find that if you lift the feet and let the hips turn more, less stretch. The hips turn less, the feet stays down, more stretch. You've got to gauge your personal flexibility and make sure you're getting a stretch. And golf does just go in one direction, but your body doesn't, so we've got to balance these out. Let's make sure we get going the other direction as well and do a turn and hold. Again, making sure we're not standing tall, we're in our golf posture. You want to add to that stretch a little bit, put a little more resistance in it. Let's pull the hips out. So getting into our stance, pull the back foot out a little bit and then turn against that front leg. Now my hips are locked and they can't turn as much. Now it's a bigger stretch and it's pulling a lot more. Same scenario from this side, get in our stance, put that foot back, turn into that leg, and get that body really twisting against that right there. A couple of good stretches for you there. Anything to do with the lower back is critical. Don't forget arms. Let's see lots of arm circles. Very important to get those arms nice and loose, the shoulders nice and loose, different things like that as well. Wrists, very simple movements with the wrists. Get the body and the club rotating. Okay, can also have situations, arm out front, pulling the fingers under, arm out front, pulling the fingers back, making sure when we do that, the elbow stays locked to get a good stretch. Okay, but try to think of sport-specific body positions that you're going to be in and really work on stretching. One of the things that happens in golf is we're on a power cart. We ride 250 yards, we get off, we make a big aggressive rotation. We've got to stretch periodically during the round as well, especially after long waits on a tee box. and those types of things. But find sport-specific stretching. Remember, golf is a rotation. It's very much upper body and core movements. We got to spend a lot more time stretching up there than we do in the lower body and in the legs. Like I said, a sprinter would spend a lot more time emphasizing lower body. So be sport-specific. But remember, stretch before you hit range balls. Stretch in the middle of a practice session. Stretch after. Same goes for a round of golf. And spread your stretching out throughout the season. Pre-season, during the season, and post-season. Flexibility. Gain it, maintain it. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And that's a big one. Flexibility leads to power. See you next week.